an unfortunately necessary replacement. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with the 1961 movie Victim. So, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, and I'm going to mention this at the beginning of the reaction too for those on Patreon. This is a replacement. I also brought this up on the Discord server, and I think I made a post about it on YouTube, so I'm talking about it everywhere to be safe. Originally, this week's Saturday movie was supposed to be a movie called She's the He. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that because the movie's not out yet. Well, it's out in theaters, apparently, select theaters and all, because it's not, a big, wide release film. But I thought the movie came out last year. That was the big issue, because when I was looking up movies to do for Pride, I saw that movie, and it's like, oh, that sounds interesting based off the title. It says it came out last year, 2025, so, okay, I'll put that on my list. I come to find out, because I couldn't find it anywhere, that it's still in theaters. It came out, recently, this month recently. And we thought it was, last year. I'm assuming because last year was probably a festival release or something like that, which for some reason sites like Letterboxd and whatnot likes to reference movies by those dates, even though those aren't the official, wide release dates. And so it's like a movie like this will be listed as 2025, even though the movie didn't come out officially until 2026. A festival release is not a release, even. It's a single showing that's meant to basically be a preview for the actual release. And so I hate when these sites do shit like that. And it's like, I didn't know. I thought this movie came out last year. I didn't know. But because of this, we do have to replace it. There's just nothing we can do. The last movie, which we'll also be doing this same week, Supernova, the last movie of our Pride Month special this year, is fine. That movie came out years ago. I did check. I made sure. But yeah, it's just that one movie we had issues, so we're going to this instead. This was... I don't know anything about this movie. This was purely a movie I came to as a substitute. I basically just looked up gay movies, and I saw, there's this 1961 British film that was, the first British film to, positively be about a gay person. It was the most generically bland way of describing it, so I don't really know what the movie's about in any way. I just know that it's a British film and that it's gay. And it's like the first positive, fully positive representation for a British film. And like I said, this movie came out in 1961. This is like before my father was born. My father was born in 66. So this is like 5 years before my dad existed. And that's saying something. This is an older movie, and it's not the oldest movie we've watched on the channel. I still think that goes to Anders Els de Andern, which we did, I believe, last year for our Pride special, right? That was the first movie to be like super queer friendly. It came out in 1919, and it was a German silent film that the Nazis tried to have deleted. And partially succeeded. The movie doesn't exist in its entirety anymore. But yeah, that's probably the oldest movie we've watched on the channel. This doesn't quite live up to that. I've seen movies older than this, but I'm still very interested to see what this is like. I'm just wondering, like, I assume the movie's going to be about the character being gay, but I don't know like what the context of that is going to be, how that's going to fit into the like remainder of the story, and what's going to like come from that. And because it's old, I'm expecting it to obviously touch on things in not the best way. Like, things are not going to age super well is what I'm thinking. There's probably going to be terminology and ideas in here that are a little outdated, but that just kind of goes whenever you watch a movie this old. You just gotta kind of have to figure that out as you go. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be bad, or for the time especially that it wouldn't be like revolutionary. And that's kind of why, like, when I was looking up like a replacement film, I chose this, because again, 1961 film, first British film to feature this entirely positive representation. It's like that sounded exciting to me. That sounded like something worth checking out. And so that's what we're doing. We will definitely do a reaction for She's the He at some point in the future. I don't know if we'll wait till next year's Pride or if I'll get to it before that. But when like that's available, I will absolutely do a reaction to it either way. That being said, I think we should just get into this, because like I said, I don't know what we're getting into and I just want to find out. So let's check it out and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I'm of two minds on this movie. What I mean is that there is a part of me that acknowledges obviously how important this movie is, how sympathetic towards gay men specifically. Maybe bi or pan, but mostly intended gay, that this is, and how progressive for the time that this came out in 1961, and honestly how much it aged well. Like, this is a movie that didn't actually age poorly. There wasn't a lot of like really heavy like slur usage or what's the word? Stereotyping. That's it. There wasn't a huge amount of stereotyping because all these different gay men in the movie came from all these different backgrounds and ways of life and had different like just looks and styles to them and everything. They were very different people. They were very diverse in that. Mind you, they were all white, but 60s Hollywood. Or not even Hollywood, 60s just film in general. Because this was again, this was British. But it's like, while all of that was great and there was so much to love about this movie, my second mind towards this film is that honestly it was kind of boring. Like, this isn't really this is more of a me thing, and I will be completely honest about that. I found this movie kind of slow and boring. This movie's about, what is it, an hour 40 minutes or so? Let me check to be sure. Yeah, about an hour 40. And I know I took that, like, I had to cut it in the middle there. Like, it wasn't even the middle. It was like, what, 30 something minutes in? Because the dog was freaking out and I guess wanted to go outside. So, apologies about that. But even with that, the movie felt like it was really slow and wasn't like... you may have noticed there wasn't a lot for me to really talk about at any given moment, and I clearly wasn't like figuring things out enough. Like, what's her name? I have the list up here. Let me get the name. Make sure I get the name. Mrs. Benham, who was one of the blackmailers. And that was that big reveal by the end and everything. It's like, I don't know if there was supposed to be a lot of hints that she was one of them, that she was working with Sandy, but I didn't catch it really well. I didn't catch it well enough, and I was like, there was a lot of things with this that it wasn't clicking in my head. I don't know if it was because of the way it was paced, the way it was like set up and directed and whatnot. I don't know. But it was one of those things where it might have just been me, where I was just not, it wasn't clicking with me. There were certain things that I was trying to figure out as we were going along too, and it seems like I got everything really, but it felt like I was missing information, and it felt like I wasn't understanding certain things at times, and I definitely wasn't getting a lot of the names down completely. Some of them, it was just hard to hear them. For example, Jack Barrett, his nickname was Boy, and I wasn't clear the entire film, if it was Boy or Boyd with a D on the end. We knew his name was Jack Barrett, but it was clearly a nickname and everything, and I just wasn't sure what they were saying. And that's more due to, like, the quality of the audio capture and everything of the time. Sometimes it's like I kind of wish that this file had subtitles because that would have helped out so much with some of the names and everything. Like, it's like some names were easy to get, like Laura, but then it's like I was having a hard time finding out, like, they were saying, like, at one point, two of the characters were Teddy and Tiny. And I was having a hard time figuring out exactly what they were saying. It's like, it sounds like they could be saying a number of different things that all sound like that. Like Tiny, Teddy, Tidy, Teeny was one thing I thought I heard at one point. And it's just like, I'm not 100% sure what they're saying. It's like, it's all close. It's all similar, but yeah. I did get the main gist of things down, but it's like there were also certain aspects that felt like almost a little thrown in, like Harold Doe, the bookseller, the one that Miss Benham was working for, who had that connection with Jack. He could have been taken out of this movie. His role felt like or at least minimized. His role felt very, like, unnecessary. especially his connection to Jack, really didn't mean anything. It didn't amount to anything. Him having that connection with Jack, being like, like kind of looking out for Jack, and it was implied that he was gay too, right? That's what Mrs. Benham was implying in the end, I think. I think. I'm not 100%, but um it's like that connection where he was going to help Jack out and everything. It's like there was never really a point to it. It just felt tacked on, and even by the end, it's like the last interaction we see is him confronting Farr, and he's like, I was going to help him, I was going to give him a home and shit. And he's like, do you know what all this means? And Farr's like, yes, I know what all this means, and then leaves. And it's like, that's the end of that. Okay. And again, it's like, this stuff doesn't take away from the message of the movie by any means. The message is phenomenal. And it's amazing that this movie, again, came out in 1961. Apparently, when it came out, according to what I read here, it was very, like, it was seen as, like, very controversial, which makes sense. And even to the point of, like, the US Film Board, like, refusing to the American Motion Picture Production Code refused the seal of approval. And yet the movie still received high acclaim and is regarded as a classic, and is regarded as extremely important towards attitudes towards homosexuality and queerness in general in England to this day. But it's one of those things where it's not the best made movie. Weirdly enough, I think Anders als die Anderen was a better movie, was a better film. And I mean, that can happen. Even if a movie has a great message and is, like, extremely important in terms of what it's saying, that doesn't mean you're going to automatically love it. It doesn't mean it's going to be, like, a hit for you. Everybody has their own subjective opinions on film, and you're not going to be able to like every movie. That's just not how anything works. So, again, I can acknowledge the importance of this film without acknowledging that it's like, I can't speak. I'm not even saying that it was, like, bad. I want to make that clear. I would not call this bad. I would just call this kind of mid. It's like there were a lot of things I loved about it. For one, I loved that it wasn't just one guy, or even, like, a couple. There were a lot of gay guys in this movie. And again, it was all guys, but there was a lot of representation in this film. Like, I think over half a dozen characters in this. Because let me see, you had Farr, you had Tiny and Teddy. I'm looking through the cast list right now. You had possibly Harold, though. You had Jack. You had Phip, the car guy, the car salesman, who was at the end there. You had Henry, the hairdresser. There was I think there was one or two others. But that's at least 7. That's at least 7 characters in this film who are, gay. And we keep meeting these characters throughout the film, and they're very important. All of them are sympathetic and likable. Not a single one of them is bad. Even Phip at the end, who, is kind of pathetic. It's like you still feel bad for him because he's still a victim. And it makes it very clear that these are all victims. That they are people who are being blackmailed because of an unfair law, which it, again, makes very clear is unfair. And they're being blackmailed for money and shit. And, like, Phip in the end is even kind of forced to work for them. because of it. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting, the kind of stuff that, like, this kind of stuff is real. This kind of shit's happened in real life. Absolutely. People have been blackmailed for their sexuality, even in modern day. And it's horrible. It shouldn't be happening, especially in modern day, but it does. And it always has, and it probably, to some degree at least, always will. Because there are terrible people out there who refuse to see queer people, as humans, as worthy of just as much respect and, care as anyone else. You saw, like, how Miss Benham referred to them in this movie, like, basically as things, as it's. And multiple people, like the barman, did the same thing. It's so gross. It's so disgusting. And you have the main character who's this successful lawyer who's on the verge of getting this, like, just insanely impressive, like, promotion, basically. And is even being considered as a future judge. His career is, like, phenomenal. It is so well received by the public and even by his contemporaries. And yet he's willing to throw all of that away to not only ruin his career, but his life. To do the right thing here. By the end, he even tells his wife, it's like, I'm not going to get you involved in this. You leave. Go. And he's like, when everything's said and done, when my entire life is down the drain, I'm going to need you. Because he does love her still. I mean, whether, like, he's bi or whether he is gay and just, has formed a connection to her through, through another kind of love, because obviously there's multiple kinds of love. He does love her. He absolutely adores her, and he makes that very clear. And she accepts him in the end. In the end, she even says, it's like, I might be willing to come back then. And she's, like, not, like, fully agreeing, but she's agreeing. You understand what's being said there. It's like, she's coming around to him and understanding kind of what the one guy, William, said. Like, it's like, I've known you for all these years. I've known your character. It's like, why would I begin to doubt that now? And although she had her doubts because of, Farr's past and everything, with this other guy who also ended up killing himself, because of all this bullshit. It's so terrible. And it's like, there's also a lot of characters are said to have died through this. It's like, Farr's ex from when he was younger. You have Jack. You have the barber. It's like there's a bunch of these characters dying. And I also like how there's different views on things. Like, Farr is so, like, dedicated to even sacrificing his well-being to bring this blackmailing ring down. While you have the actor, Teddy, is it Teddy or Tiny? One of them's one and the other, I don't know. But you have him and his partner who are basically just saying, like, just pay them off. You can afford to, just pay them off. It's better, it'll keep your secret, your career will be fine. It's like, nobody has to know. Just pay them off. And it's like, I love that they have these different perspectives, and you can't really fault any of them. They're all valid. Because in a situation like this, and again, with the circumstances of where the country is at that point, it's really difficult to find the courage to do certain things. Not everybody's going to be able to be like Farr is. And that's reasonable. That's understandable. Like, you can argue till you're blue in the face, what Farr is doing is the right thing, and everybody should be willing to do that. Everybody should be willing to have the courage to do that. But not everybody can. Because everybody's different, and everybody has different levels of courage and fortitude when it comes to that stuff. And, when there's people who also have, like, a family to raise or just loved ones in general, and just don't want to fucking end up homeless and shit. It's like, how do you expect them to like throw away their entire lives? This is why so many people stay in the closet, because they feel it's unsafe to come out. And it's because of laws like this. It's because of lawmakers like this. Because of people who are willing to blackmail. Because of all these shitty, terrible bigots in the world. And that's always been the case. Queer people have always existed, and they always will. Their ability to come out and ability to be true to themselves is only like determined by the world around them. There was so long where queer people just weren't able to be themselves and just kept it hidden for their entire lives. And nowadays it's a lot more common, it's a lot more like accepted, but it's still not perfect. And you even have, at least here in America, lawmakers and Senate, politicians and whatnot, trying to take away queer rights, especially for trans people. Mostly trans women, who they specifically single out, because, a lot of it has to also do with misogyny. But it's like, the point still stands that they're trying to take these rights away from anyone who's queer, even today in 2026. And it's horrible. And as a queer person myself, as someone who is pansexual, as someone who is trans femme, as someone who is non-binary, all three of those, it's like, I have to like live in fear of this shit constantly. I am so constantly stressed out by everything I keep reading about, everything I keep hearing about. And it's just, it's constantly putting me in a state of perpetual anxiety. Just because I'm me. Just because I'm being honest to be who I am. And then on top of that, I live in a house where I'm not fully accepted. I have to deal with people in my life who will dead name me and misgender me. And I'm not talking about just random people on the streets. If someone who doesn't know me misgenders me, it doesn't bother me at all, because they don't know me. But when it's someone I know who knows that I'm trans and just refuses to properly gender or name me or whatever, that's actively insulting. And it's something I go through daily, literally daily. Most of the time I wear like t-shirts and jeans and stuff when I leave the house, because I'm afraid to dress more feminine. Like, even if I'm with someone else and I feel a little safer because I'm not alone, it's like, I still feel afraid. And so I wear something that's, one, more comfortable, to be fair, but also something that makes me feel more comfortable in a emotional and mental way. Like, this is probably one of the queerest things I wear. Stuff like this. This shirt that, like, has strawberry milk on it. The only exception is, like, when I go to, like, Pride events. Like, obviously, I'll wear my Pride tank top. Or I recently got a newer shirt that says, like, I'm the gay socialist witch they warned you about. I've worn it a couple times in a couple reactions I've recorded. But the point is, it's like, I wear that stuff at home easily, fine. But it's like, the only time I wear like even dresses nowadays is like if I'm going to like maybe my church. Like there's a big church event or something, and it's like I want to look really nice or whatnot. Or if I'm going to a Pride event and want to wear a dress that day. But it's like most of the time I won't. And again, I don't have much of other feminine clothes, partially because they're expensive, but also because it's just hard to like get the courage to. And this is a movie where it like talks about like trying to find the courage and how that can be difficult, and it shows again from all these different perspectives. all these different people, some people who like, open up about it and talk to Farr about it, and then some who just can't. Like, despite the fact that they did talk and that Farr had figured things out, the barber never said anything. He actually kept it close to his chest and refused to actually speak. But then you have Sandy coming in, destroying his place and causing him to have a heart attack out of fear. He didn't even do anything. But Sandy was like, I guess, paranoid that he had said something. And it's like he effectively did kill him. It's like they're talking about how Jack was effectively murdered, but it's like it's not just him. These others are being effectively murdered too. Even if not like directly, it's like if your actions would knowingly cause this person to commit suicide or to hang themselves, or not, that's the same thing. Sorry. To commit suicide or to have a heart attack or something like that. It's like if you're knowingly doing that with kind of that, not necessarily intent, but with that expectation of possibility, you're guilty. And not to mention the blackmail obviously is obviously illegal too, but it's like it's so fucked on so many levels. But it's like this, like I said, this movie was kind of just boring to me. And in terms of its presentation, it was very slow. It was very monotonous. And it wasn't, like, even for a movie that obviously focused a lot on the mystery thriller kind of aspect, it didn't, like, present that super excitingly. And I've seen older movies that can present that kind of stuff a lot more exciting. Hell, my favorite movie of all time is 12 Angry Men. And that came out when? I think that came out in the 50s. I think that came out before this. I just want to make sure on the exact. I can never remember the exact year for that. 1957, yeah, a few years before this movie. 12 Angry Men it takes place in a single room for most of the movie. For like 99% of the movie. It takes place in a single room. It's just 12 men arguing around a table about about the guilt or innocence of a young man who may or may not have killed his father. The movie is extremely simple. There's not a lot to it. And it is one of the most thrilling, exciting movies I have ever seen. More so than a Marvel movie. More so than any kind of like big action thriller. And that's because it's so well directed, so well acted, so well written. And it understands how to use very little to express so much. This movie just doesn't do enough of that. This movie had the potential, but it's like, I feel like the actors in this, I don't know if they weren't giving it their all. Maybe they were like nervous about doing a movie like this because of its content. But they just felt like they were holding back. I'm not even saying any of them were necessarily bad. Because I don't think any of the actors in this were. But they felt like they were holding themselves back. And it felt like the filmmakers weren't making it as like exciting and thrilling and intense as they could have either. Even the scene where Sandy is again breaking the cases inside the barber shop, and it causes, the barber to have a heart attack. That scene like should have been a lot more intense and frightening and upsetting than it was. And it's like you saw at the end, like I was saying, like he had a heart attack, right? That's what that was showing us. I wasn't 100% sure. And that was my issue with it, because they didn't express it as intensely and as well as they could have. And then apparently we find out that like after that scene cut, at some point he also was able to get to a phone, make a phone call, and get at least something out before he died. And this was also after Sandy had left as well. And it's just like, what? We're supposed to believe all that happened at that point? If he had a heart attack right then and there, it's like, no. He would not have been able to get to a phone to make that call after having the heart attack. After, again, however much time it took for Sandy to leave, because he was still there when we saw him having the heart attack. And it's just like, I feel like they didn't express things as well as they could have. And they didn't, like, get everything across in the right way. And I feel like if this movie were remade today by the right director and with the right cast, it could be, like, monumental for the queer community. But it's like, it's also a movie I think could have benefited from just more passion and more intent, I guess is a good way to put into it. Again, it just felt like it was being held back, like they were purposefully holding it back from actually putting forth their everything into it. That's my biggest issue. But like I said, the movie's not bad by any means. It's like just kind of mid. I'd maybe give it like just above actual mid, like maybe like a 5.5 to a 6 out of 10, somewhere in that range, where it's like, okay, it gets a net positive, especially because of its messaging and thematic elements, and again, how the representation was actually executed. But there's things that definitely hold it back and keep it from being any higher than that. That's kind of my view on it. For a movie, though, that I wasn't even planning on doing for this Pride special, one that we kind of had to just replace the other movie I was planning on doing with, like, I still like feel it was a valuable watch, and I still really am happy to have checked it out. I don't know when or if I would have heard of this movie if I hadn't like started frantically looking things up to try and find a replacement last night. Seriously, I'm recording this on Wednesday the 24th. It was literally like super late last night too. Like I'm talking like 11:30 to 11:30 p.m. to like 12:30 a.m. like right around the midnight hour. And it's like I'm looking to download the movie and I can't find it. I'm panicking while also at the time watching AGT because I do that. And so I'm like freaking the fuck out and trying to find something. And then I find out that the movie I was supposed to be getting and reacting to is technically only out in theaters and only in select theaters and everything, and that the year lied to me, that it didn't come out last year in 2025 like it said it did. No, that was, I guess, again, I suppose it was a festival showing or something, a film festival. But in reality, the movie just like came out this year and this month, and it's just like, ugh. And so I'm scrambling. I'm looking everywhere. I'm like, I gotta find something else. And so I'm looking up. I'm literally Googling stuff like, oh, popular queer movies and shit. And I'm trying to find something that's like not a documentary or whatnot, because a lot of what I was finding was that kind of stuff, which it's like those are good, but I don't necessarily want to do that for a Pride special. I'm looking for like an actual movie. And so then I ended up finding this one. I'm like, okay, this movie is called Victim. And it says, again, it's a British film from 1961. And it's one of the first, it's like the first British film to like positively present and talk about gayness and everything. And so like I didn't know anything else going into this. And I don't know if I would have ever even heard of this otherwise if I hadn't been frantically looking that up, but I'm glad I got to see it. Even if it wasn't the best film in my opinion, just from like an entertainment and viewing standpoint, I still am glad to have seen it. And I'm so happy that a movie in 1961 was able to talk about this in such a respectful, forward-thinking way. It was so ahead of its time. It ages extremely well. And it's just, it has so much potential. It doesn't quite live up to that potential, but it has the potential for greatness because of like what it's trying to say. And especially because of how far like handles it in the end. That self-sacrifice, sacrificing everything for that is great. It's a great representation of like doing the right thing in the face of, again, losing everything. So yeah, I'm of two minds on this movie. There's so much great about it, but there's so much that I just wasn't impressed by. And it's just one of those cases where it's gonna be mixed for me. It happens. But we do have one more movie in our Pride special to go, and that is Supernova. And hopefully this one ends up being better because I do know who the lead stars of this movie are, and they were the literal reason I decided to put this on my list for the special. And I am very excited over this. I'm like really excited about this one. Because I think this movie could be like, this could be the best movie we've reacted to for this month. For the Pride special, specifically. But we'll get to that next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. For now, let me know your thoughts on this film down in the comments below. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.